Hi, my name's Todd Audyatis. I'm the Associate Dean of Admission at Bridgewater State University, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this online admission information session. I'm willing to bet that there's been a lot that's changed in your life since the start of the global pandemic this spring, but there are things that remain the same, like the college admission process. One of those things that's remained the same is that much of your energy up until now has gone into getting into college, right? You got to take the right courses because you got to get in. You got to get the right grades because you got to get in. You have to have the right extracurricular activities because you've got to get in. Well, because you made the effort to join us in this info session, I'm going to let you in on a few insider secrets over the course of the next half hour. The first of those being is that you are going to get into a college. In fact, I'll guarantee it. Now, I'm not going to guarantee you'll get into Bridgewater, and we'll talk about what that involves exactly a little bit later. But you are going to get in somewhere because community colleges in Massachusetts have open enrollment. You graduate from high school, you're automatically admitted. In addition to that, there are an increasing number of smaller, less selective private colleges that will admit anyone who applies, and they will enroll anyone who will pay. So you're going to get in somewhere. The question really is whether you want to go to either of those two options I just described. So I'm encouraging you guys tonight to think about transitioning your energy more towards where do you want to go and not whether you're going to get in. So when you think about where it is you want to go, it's really asking yourself, what is it that you're looking for in a college? And you see here on your screen a bunch of different types of criteria that you may be considering. For some students, it's location or setting. Maybe safety is a concern for you. Size might be a determining factor, small, medium, large. Whether they have the major you want to study or extracurricular activities that you think you might want to be involved in, but not least of which here is whether the campus is a welcoming environment for you. So fortunately, we're going to touch on all of these factors over the course of our presentation, but I'm willing to bet that if you're in an info session for Bridgewater State University, you and your family are putting a premium on value as a college search criteria. Now, value for purposes of our conversation here is really defined in two terms. One is quality, and it's quality relative to cost. Because let's be honest, higher ed is expensive enough. Nobody wants to overpay. But you certainly want to make sure that the degree that you earn is going to get you to where it is you want to go in life. So much of our energy over the course of this half hour is going to be spent on explaining how Bridgewater delivers especially well on value, both in terms of cost and quality. But any talk about cost with regard to Bridgewater State University has to be set in the context of public higher education, because as a state university, we receive a portion of our budget from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And last year at Bridgewater, that equated to $65 million, roughly 30% of our annual operating budget, which is a generous amount. But to put that into historic perspective for you, when I myself was a student in the early 90s at what was then a state college here in Massachusetts, and yes, that's me circled in red there, the Commonwealth was putting more than 80% into my education. My family and I were covering the other 20%. Now, obviously that ratio has since flipped. Whether you choose to enroll at a place like Bridgewater State back in the day or today, you still receive value, which, as we talked about earlier, it's qualitative to cost. And when I talk about the value that you get at Bridgewater State University, it's not just the $65 million last year, or roughly 30% of our annual operating budget. No, the Commonwealth is investing in you and your education over the course of time. It goes back to when they were putting 80% into my education. It's cumulative. It adds up over time because the buildings that they've built since then, they still stand. And the facilities that we've outfitted have only been improved since then. And many of the faculty and staff that we've hired are still here and adding more and more value to our institution. So there is a ton of value way beyond the sticker price when you enroll at Bridgewater. And if you encounter someone in your college search process who tries to convince you that if you're paying less for a state university, it means you're getting less, well, they simply don't understand the economics of the situation. And hopefully you do now that you've seen this slide. Now let's get right down to facts and figures here, because I know cost is important for families. To give you a breakdown of what you can anticipate for cost if you choose to attend Bridgewater next year as a commuter, so either coming to campus from your family's house or from an apartment in the area with friends. you're going to pay tuition and fees. And at Bridgewater, that's going to amount to about $10,500 a year. That's right, a year. Now, if you're going to live on campus, then you pay tuition and fees, but also incur the additional expense of room and board. So that's going to bump your sticker price up to $23,500 a year. Now, I'm emphasizing a year because if you're far enough along in your college search process, then you might already know that the average sticker price for a private college or university here in Massachusetts this year is going to run you anywhere from $40,000 to $75,000 a year. Now, I have to tell you, I'm the father of 3 teenagers. My oldest is going into his senior year in high school. So we are literally in this college search process right alongside you guys this year. And the sticker price of $40,000 to $75,000 a year makes me weak in the knees. But more importantly, it leaves me wondering, what is it that my son would possibly receive if we did choose to pay 2 to 3.5 times the cost of Bridgewater to send him off to a private school? Now, I can't answer that question for you specifically, but we'll talk, at least in general terms, about how Bridgewater delivers on value and that you might want to consider Bridgewater over those other alternatives. Now, all this talk about cost, it seems like an appropriate time for a quick word about financial aid. So I'm going to ask my friend Leo to take it away here. And Leo says, "Thank you, student loans, for helping me get through college. I don't think I can ever repay you." Yes, thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's my laugh track. It's my one amusement doing this presentation from my basement. And this is meant to be fun. Don't get me wrong, though. We love financial aid at Bridgewater. 91% of our students are on some form of financial aid, even if it's just a loan. And financial aid allows students to access opportunities that they might not otherwise afford on their own. But I do also include this slide as a word of caution. Because if you go off to college and you rack up 6 figures worth of student loan debt, those bills do become due. And life after college doesn't offer financial aid. And so that debt can have serious implications for the opportunities that you can take advantage of once you've graduated. So again, whether you choose to attend Bridgewater State or somewhere else, just please use student loans, especially responsibly. But again, if you choose to use financial aid to help pay your way through school at Bridgewater, it's a very straightforward process. All we require of students is that they file the FAFSA form, which is an acronym that stands for the Pre-Application for Federal Student Assistance. If you're not familiar with this term, you certainly will be, because it's required by all colleges and universities across the country if you want to use financial aid. Now, the form is available online starting October 1st of your senior year. My advice is to fill that out as soon as possible and include all the schools you even think you might apply to for admission. And in each case, be mindful of the priority deadline for financial aid. At Bridgewater, it's March 1st, so you want to make sure that you get your FAFSA in well before those priority deadlines so that you do get all the aid that you might otherwise be entitled to receive. So here we are, 11 minutes into my presentation, and hopefully I have clearly established that if you choose to enroll at Bridgewater State University, you're going to save a ton of money compared to a private school. But I haven't really talked much about the quality side of that value equation. So if you're at home saying, "Show me the quality," wait no longer. I've got 6 specific ways that Bridgewater does an especially good job of delivering on the quality side of the value equation. Starting with the fact that we are a beautiful, safe suburban setting with ready access to Boston. And it is a beautiful campus. You can obviously see this here in the picture, but we have beautiful facilities too. And we should, because we've spent almost $500 million in capital improvements since the turn of the millennium. In that span of time, we actually put up a building a year for 10 years. But every space on our campus has been redone at least once, if not more, in the past 20 years. So when you do have a chance to come and visit us, don't expect you're going to have to suffer through some degree of shabby chic because we're a state school. No, I promise you, we show pretty spiffy, and I hope you have a chance to see that for yourself sometime real soon. Now, I also make a point on this slide of emphasizing that we're a safe setting, because I know safety is a concern for students and for families, and it's not just health safety. It is a crazy world out there. So rest assured that we are a safe place to be. In fact, this year, we were ranked the 4th safest campus in the entire country. And that's not a fluke. Last year, we were ranked the 5th safest campus. So Bridgewater is consistently a safe place for you to live and to learn. And yes, as promised, ready access to Boston because we have our own T stop on campus. The Old Colony Rail stops right in the heart of our campus, and our students use it too. You can get a student discounted T pass and be in downtown Boston in about 45 minutes. You can go to a museum. You can catch a Celtics game when they stop playing in the bubble and actually get back to Beantown. And you could do an internship in Boston without ever having to fight the traffic into town. And if you're thinking about enrolling at Bridgewater from someplace outside of our immediate region, well, you can take the commuter rail north of Boston or west of Boston or catch the Amtrak train. And even if you're going to go to school away from home, home really isn't going to be that far away for you. The second way that we deliver especially well on quality is that we're a mid-sized school with a small school experience for our students. And when you consider the fact that our total undergraduate enrollment at Bridgewater is 8,000, we're definitely mid-sized. In fact, we are the largest state university in Massachusetts. Now, by state university, I'm comparing us to places like Worcester and Salem and Framingham, separate from the UMass system. Although we are bigger than UMass Dartmouth. So we're pretty big. And there are a lot of advantages to being a mid-sized school. One of them that is probably a principal concern for you is that we have 36 different majors in 90 different areas of study. Unfortunately, time does not allow me to get into detail for each of these majors. My point here is that if you are a student who knows what it is you want to study when you go to college, chances are we're going to have it either as a major or at least as an area of study. And if you're a student who's still deciding on what it is you want to major in, well, that's fine too. Typically, we have anywhere from 15 to 20% of our incoming freshmen every year are still deciding on a major. So it's not uncommon, and we have a great system for bringing you on board, allowing you to select classes that enable you to sample different academic areas in hopes of getting a major picked before the end of your sophomore year, all the while you're still earning credits towards graduating within 4 years. So you also get the small school feel when you look at numbers like an 18-to-1 student to faculty ratio, which is impressive, but not as impressive as an average class size of 22. 22 is smaller than the average class size at many of our local high schools. But of course, as you know, an average represents a range. So as I explained that Bridgewater is a mid-sized university, it's fair for you to think of things like being a number in a large auditorium-sized class with hundreds of other students. Well, that is not going to be the case if you decide to enroll here at Bridgewater because we cap our class sizes at 5. So there are no large auditorium-sized classrooms, and 35 is unusual. 35 is what you might encounter in an intro-level course in one of our more popular majors. But you enroll at Bridgewater, you will absolutely be a name. Your faculty are going to know who you are. They're going to have a vested interest in your success, both while you're at Bridgewater and beyond. And it's that personal interaction and relationship with our faculty that really is a unique aspect. And so this is a great quality of Bridgewater. Mid-sized school, access to all those resources, opportunities, and amenities, but a small school feel where it matters the most, in the classroom with our professors. Now, the third way that we deliver on quality is that we provide access to first-class opportunities outside of the classroom. And I'm talking about things like study abroad, undergraduate research, and internships. I'm going to imagine that every school on your list at this point is going to offer each of these programs to varying degrees. Well, we do an amazing job in all 3 of these areas. So we're going to spend a couple of minutes on this slide, starting with the fact that each one of these programs is overseen by an administrative office staffed by professionals. And we do fundraising to ensure that all of our students can access these opportunities. So if you're not familiar with study abroad, it's literally going to another country as part of your education. See, we offer the gateway opportunity is usually a study tour, and we offer upwards of 3 dozen different study tours a year, leaving from different academic departments and going to various countries. The example that I like to cite is a course that we do in Japanese art. So you'd register for this class as you would any other, and you see that there's an international travel component built in as part of the course. There are additional fees amounting upwards of a couple of $1,000s. Those fees can be included in a financial aid package, and you can also apply for additional scholarship support. So at some point during that semester, you're going to hop on a plane with your professor and classmates and fly over to Japan. The study tours are typically anywhere from a week to 2 weeks. So while there, you're going to visit Japanese museums, meet with Japanese artists, work on your own art projects using the techniques that you're learning. All the while, you're going to be immersed in the food, the language, and the culture. You fly back stateside, finish out the semester, earn 3 credits. Sounds cool, right? Well, if you get the travel bug through one of our study tours, then you can spend a semester at a foreign university, this summer abroad, and you can do your student teaching in one of 5 different countries. We have 75 total study abroad programs in 35 different countries. And our students use this very often. In fact, I've seen numbers as high as 30% of our students have some kind of international experience before they graduate. Now, undergraduate research is not unique to Bridgewater, but the way that Bridgewater does it is unique. Now, universally, undergraduate research is when a student working on a bachelor's degree initiates an independent, original research project and recruits a faculty mentor. So it's done by thousands of colleges and universities around the country. We do it in such a different way that there's what's known now nationally as the Bridgewater model, because at other places, it's defined in 3 characteristics. Undergraduate research is just for upperclassmen who are honor students, who are typically studying in the natural sciences, so biology, chemistry, that kind of stuff. And Bridgewater is different in all 3 of those ways. You don't have to be an upperclassman. We actually have undergraduate research worked into first and second year courses. You can see it in the course description, and anyone can register for those classes. You don't have to be an honor student. Certainly, if you do an undergraduate research project like that, want to turn it into an honors thesis, join our honors program, that's all well and good. And those students actually have 100% success rate in being placed in graduate school. And you can do it regardless of major. We actually offer grant funding to students to do undergraduate research, and we have recipients from almost every department on campus. It's a very popular program, and we have upwards of 1,700 students doing undergraduate research every year. That's more than 20% of our full-time undergraduate population. You might be asking yourself then, if it's popular, really, how good is it? Well, this year, Bridgewater State University was ranked the #1 undergraduate research program in the entire country. So we're pretty darn good. Last but not least is internships. Little trivia fact for you, you may or may not know, Bridgewater State was founded in 1840 as one of the first public teachers colleges in the country. I cite that because you are undoubtedly familiar with student teachers, right? So internships are like student teaching in that you get real world experience as part of your education. But you can do an internship regardless of major. It's not just for those who want to be teachers. So you could say we've been in the internship business since our founding. And we realized at some point we actually had more internship opportunities than we had students doing internships. And what we discovered was that many of our students couldn't afford to do unpaid internships, because really, whether you're paid or not depends on where your internship placement is. So if you're in the private sector, corporate sector, you're going to get paid. But for many of our students, their placements were going to be in government or the nonprofit sector, the public sector. So they were unpaid. What we decided to do then was make fundraising in support of otherwise unpaid internships one of our top philanthropic priorities. And last year, Bridgewater funded more than 660 otherwise unpaid internships, giving our students amounts ranging from a couple of $100 for them to buy their first suit, to $1,200 for a semester-long T-Pass into Boston, upwards of $5,000 to spend a semester in Washington, D.C., New York City, or in Los Angeles. We gave our students last year more than $500,000 to get out there and get real-world experience as part of the Bridgewater education. So as promised, folks, I would stack our programs here up against the best public or privates on your list right now. And per pound, this is real value here. Now, the fourth way that we deliver on quality is that we have student life for all student lifestyles. I like to start this slide off by explaining that we've got a 60-40 split between commuting students and those who live on campus. And when I do this presentation live, I inevitably get reactions from some students like, oh, it's commuter school. Well, that's great. Those students understand ratios and they're going to kill it on the SAT as soon as they get a chance to register for it. But if we do math on my earlier slide, you realize that means we've got typically 3,300 students living on campus in our 11 residence halls. So if you do want that traditional living on campus kind of an experience, we absolutely offer it. In fact, we can guarantee housing for the duration of your stay at Bridgewater. But whether you choose to live on campus or commute, you still have full and unfettered access to all of our opportunities. And I'm talking about things like 90 student clubs and organizations, including 20, which are specifically focused on promoting diversity and cultural awareness. If you're interested in sports, we have 22 NCAA Division III teams, and I encourage you to use the URL that you see here on your screen, bsubears.com. to visit and find the coach for the sport that you think you want to play. I encourage you to reach out to them and let them know that you're interested in applying to Bridgewater, because athletics has an entire recruiting process separate from us at admission. So you want to make sure that you're on their radar. But if intercollegiate sports isn't your thing, we have club sports, intramurals, and 15% of our student body is involved in some kind of organized athletic activity while they're here. And we also have Greek life, which are fraternities and sororities. Now, students don't get too excited because it's not like what you see in the movies. We don't have frat houses or sorority houses or anything, but they are an integral part of our social scene and our community service on campus. And as a state university, we pride ourselves as being representative of the Commonwealth at large, because it's your tax dollars in part that fund us. So we recruit in every community across the Commonwealth to build that kind of diversity. And you see in numbers like 52% of our students are the first generation in their family to go off to college. 26% of our students identify themselves as students of color. 34% of our students have reported family incomes below 50,000. Now, the other end of that socioeconomic spectrum is that 30% of our families have reported incomes above 100,000. And the final third is in the middle. So I use this to illustrate the fact that we have the entire socioeconomic range here on our campus. And last but not least is that 50% of our new students are transfers. Now, I share this, obviously, if you're in high school, it might not seem relevant. But at the end of this presentation, if you're thinking, nice place, but not for me, well, that's fine. Bridgewater doesn't want to be all things to all people. We know what we do it well. And we might not be a good fit for you now, but we might be later. So if you decide to go somewhere else and change your mind, we're open to transfer students. Half of our new students every year are coming from other 2-year or 4-year public and private institutions across the country. So we are well equipped to bringing you in and getting you well on your way towards earning your degree. Now, I love this slide because it's going to provide you with an insight into Bridgewater that you are not going to get in a Naviance search. And I'm talking about the fact that our students are generally other regarding. And by that, I mean they care about other people. I like to think that we set the tone right from the jump with our motto, which is not to be ministered unto, but to minister. Line from the Bible. I'll confess I am not a theologian, so I'm not going to break it down for you in those terms. I'm a political scientist by training. So I read that to mean not to be served, but to serve. And aspiring to serve is certainly what our students do when you consider that our most popular majors track students into what I call the helping professions. Now, I'll list them for you here. 3 of our 4 most popular majors are education, psychology, and criminal justice. Now, that doesn't even begin to include the countless students who are in our School of Social Work or studying political science or going to public service or nonprofit work for many of our majors. When you have that large of a segment of your student body making sacrifices to earn degrees, aspiring to careers where they help other people, that establishes the culture for a campus. And you see it in a whole host of ways, not least of which is that we hold doors open for people. I know it seems weird in this day and age where nobody wants to grab a door handle without a rubber glove on, but under normal circumstances, this is what we do. And it's not just our students, staff, it's faculty. We're literally a community of people who care who's coming through the door behind us. I've been on this campus now for 15 years, and I have to tell you, that makes for a great place to be. And the 6th and final way we deliver on quality is that our students find fulfilling careers when they graduate from Bridgewater. And students, if career services is not part of your college search criteria, it ought to be. If you and your parents are going to invest tens of thousands of dollars in a degree, you better get a JOB at the end of this process. So what I've got on the screen is a quick little sampling of some of the services that my colleagues offer, and they are top notch. And you don't have to take my word for it. Career Services at Bridgewater State University has been ranked among the top 20 nationally for 5 out of the past 6 years. So we are well equipped to get you out the door and on your way to a fulfilling career of your dreams. So 27 minutes into my presentation, I am hoping that you're seeing the value of Bridgewater, and I'm also hoping that you're asking, how do I apply? Now, you're fortunate that we have state standards, and so it is public information. All out there, you could Google the admission standards for Bridgewater, but again, because you're making the effort to join us, I'm going to give you some insider scoop on the place, right? I'm going to explain exactly what it takes to get in and how we're going to evaluate your application should you decide to apply. So, you apply to Bridgewater. We put the most emphasis on your high school transcript, more so than anything else in your application packet. And the first thing we're going to do is recalculate your grade point average. So we're not using what's on your high school transcript. Now, it may be similar in that we're going to use a 4.0 scale. So 4 is an A, 3 is a B. You get the idea. But it may be different in two important ways. One is that we're using just your college prep classes. So no gym, no health class, no wood shop, that kind of stuff. The second way that it's going to be different is that it's a weighted GPA. And so by that, I mean, if you take an honors course, that is going to get weighted half a grade level higher. If you take AP, International Baccalaureate, or dual enrollment, those courses get weighted a full grade level higher. So to give you an example, if you get an A in an AP course, you're getting a 5 on a 4.0 scale. So the state standards allow us to reward you for taking a more challenging curriculum. So after having done all of that, what's the simple answer of what it takes to get into Bridgewater? There you have it, a 3.0, a B average. If you're reasonably sure that's what your recalculated grade point average is going to be, congratulations, you're in. In fact, you don't even have to send us your test scores. By that, I mean your SAT and ACT scores, because we're test optional. The state allows us to offer you admission based on the strength of your high school performance. So you've worked hard, congratulations, you're in at Bridgewater. Now, if you're a little nervous because you're not exactly sure where your GPA is going to recalculate out to, or maybe you're counting on a really strong first grading period of senior year, well, then that's when I would definitely encourage you to send us your test scores, because that's when we can use the sliding scale, which you see here on the screen. Sliding scale has 3 columns. First is 6 different categories of weighted GPAs. You see them here running from a 2.99 down to a 2.0. So you find roughly where you think your GPA is going to be, and then you slide to the right on our sliding scale to find the corresponding minimum required standardized test score, either ACT or SAT. So if you meet or exceed that number, you're in. It's as simple as that. Although nothing seems that simple these days in the age of the coronavirus, does it? No. Because again, you may not know what your GPA is going to be, or you might be one of those unfortunate students who either hasn't been able to register for an SAT, either for the first time or for the second time, when we almost always see scores go up. So if you are in that category, you should still absolutely apply, because the state allows us to admit to a certain percentage of our students as what we call special admits. Now, we do this very carefully, and it's usually in cases for students where the GPA is a couple of tenths of a point short, or the SATs 10 or 20 or 30 points shy or something. And when we do these special admits, we do it based on a very careful reading of things in your application packet, like your personal essay, your letters of recommendation, and your list of extracurricular activities. So this is your opportunity to explain to us whatever it is that's been going on in your life that's been keeping you from being as successful as you think you can be in the classroom should you be offered admission at Bridgewater. So hopefully this explanation eliminates some of the anxiety you might have otherwise been feeling about applying to Bridgewater. And if you have any other questions about how these standards apply to your particular set of circumstances, well, I encourage you to reach out to our admissions office, request an interview with one of our admission counselors, and they can walk you through it in finer detail. So there you have it. Now, as we start to wind down, I'd like to share this cartoon. It's a son and his father talking about the college search process. And the son says, yeah, college in Maine has better curriculum, but college in New York has better pizza. I'm going to spare you the laugh track on this, because this is actually meant to be funny. But I always find it crazy how students make their final college choice. So in my final slide, I want to recap for you some of the things that we've talked about, which will hopefully be compelling reasons for you to consider Bridgewater, aside from our amazing pizza. It's amazing pizza. But more importantly, I hope you take away the fact that Bridgewater offers exceptional value. We're safe, suburban setting with ready access to the world. Now, initially, we talked about access to Boston because we have our own P-stop, but then we talked about study abroad, and you can literally go anywhere in the world from Bridgewater. We're a mid-sized school with small-sized classes. And we talked about the difference that it makes when you have a personal relationship with your professors, who want to see you through Bridgewater and see you be successful once you've graduated. We have student life for all student lifestyles, whether you live on campus in one of our 11 residence halls or you commute, and it is a diverse student body that represents the real world. Our students are generally other regarding, and we talked about how that's a nice place to be. And our students are independent thinkers and doers, whether it's our #1 nationally ranked undergraduate research program or our internship programs. And student teaching was the original internship. So since our founding, we've been in that business of bridging the gap between academia and real world application, but not application for its own sake, application for the sake of our communities and for the sake of the world. I'm not even exaggerating here. I got a great example for you. A little Bridgewater trivia fact for the day is that the father of Japan's public education was a Bridgewater alum. That's right, Sheiji Izawa, in the class of 1877, enrolled at Bridgewater from Japan, got his degree, and went on to an illustrious career in education, not least of which was returning to his home country of origin and founding a system of institutions based on Bridgewater. And those institutions have graduated subsequent generations of public school teachers in Japan. That's the kind of impact our graduates have had, continue to have, and you can have with a degree from BSU. That's the conclusion of our admission information session. Hopefully, this has given you a better sense of whether BSU is the right fit for you. I encourage you to apply now using either the Common Application or our own online application found at the URL at the bottom of this slide. You can use that URL to see the latest news about our tours, open houses, and online outreach programs. Also, follow us on social media using any of the hashtags on your screen. Thanks again for joining us, and stay healthy, my friends.